Hi, my name is Sabrina, and the topic I chose to talk about is one of the most important events in the history of LGBTQ plus rights movements, which was also known as the Stonewall Riots. In this presentation, I'm going to talk about what happened at Stonewall in 1969, why it was significant, and how it set the stage for the ongoing fights for LGBTQ plus rights. What was the Stonewall Riots? On the night of June 28, 1969, something happened that would change the course of history. A group of LGBTQ plus individuals fought back against a police raid at the Stonewall Inn, a gay bar in Greenwich Village, New York City. This event sparked the Stonewall Riots, a series of demonstrations that lasted for several days. These riots were widely considered to be the beginning of the modern LGBTQ plus rights movement. To understand why the Stonewall riots were so significant, it's important to know the context of the 1960s. During this time, LGBTQ plus people faced systemic discrimination. Homosexuality was criminalized, and gay bars were often raided by the police. Public gatherings of LGBTQ plus individuals were treated as illegal or immoral. The Stonewall Inn, located in a popular neighborhood, was one of the few places where gay people could meet openly. However, it was regularly subjected to police harassment. The community was pushed to its limits, and on the fateful night in 1969, the anger finally boiled over. On the night of June 28, 1969, the police raided the Stonewall Inn. Their typical actions were to arrest patrons and employees, charging them with public indecency or homosexual behavior. However, on this particular night, the people in the bar decided that they weren't going to take it anymore. As police tried to arrest a trans woman, the crowd inside the bar began to resist. They threw objects, yelled at the officers, and fought back in what was a rare moment of collective defiance. The situation quickly escalated, with riots spilling out into the streets, leading to several nights of violent clashes between the police and protesters. Among the most influential figures during the Stonewall riots were Marsha P. Johnson and Sylvia Rivera, both trans women of color. Marsha P. Johnson, often seen as one of the leaders of the riots, famously said, "I got my start at Stonewall." She was a black trans woman and activist who would go on to co-found the Street Transvestite Action Revolutionaries, also known as STAR, an organization aimed at supporting homeless LGBTQ youth and trans people. Sylvia Rivera, another key figure, was a Latina trans activist who fought for the rights of marginalized people within the LGBTQ plus community, particularly transgender individuals and people of color. These two women, alongside many others, were often in helping to organize the events and ensuring that the fight for LGBTQ rights was inclusive for everyone. The Stonewall riots immediately garnered significantly media attention. While the mainstream press had long ignored LGBTQ plus issues, the events in Greenwich Village changed that. The Stonewall riots marked the first time that LGBTQ plus resistance to police harassment was so widely covered. In the immediate aftermath, the LGBTQ plus community began to organize. New groups like the Gay Liberation Front were formed, focusing on not only protesting for civil rights but also pushing for greater visibility and recognition of LGBTQ plus people in society. These groups were determined to create lasting change. The impact of the Stonewall riots was both immediate and long-lasting. The most notable long-term effect was the birth of modern LGBTQ plus right movements. The riots gave birth to what would become the annual Pride marches, which began in 1970 on the one-year anniversary of the riots, with the first Pride march taking place in New York City. These marches continue to this day, serving as a powerful symbol of LGBTQ plus visibility and solidarity. In addition, the riots helped galvanize efforts to decriminalize homosexuality, promote marriage equality, and fight against discrimination in employment, housing, and healthcare. Today, the Stonewall riots are celebrated as a crucial turning point in the fight for LGBTQ plus rights. The events at Stonewall marked a shift from the quiet, underground nature of LGBTQ plus activism to a bold, public change to the status quo. Stonewall not only inspired the formation of LGBTQ rights groups, but also gave rise to new conversations about identity, gender, and equality. The legacy of Stonewall continues with ongoing struggles for transgender rights, racial justice within the LGBTQ plus community, and legal protections. In 2016, the Stonewall Inn was designated as the Stonewall National Monument, the first national monument dedicated to the LGBTQ plus community, ensuring its place in history. The Stonewall riots didn't just impact the United States, but they had a global effect. Stonewall inspired LGBTQ plus movements all over the world. Countries that had criminalized homosexuality began to reconsider their laws, and many countries saw their first pride events in the years following the riots. For instance, pride marches are now held in cities worldwide, including in London, Berlin, and Sydney, and etc. Each of these marches is a testament to the power and global influence of Stonewall. In conclusion, the Stonewall riots were much more than just a series of protests. They marked the beginning of a new era in the struggle for LGBTQ rights. This courage shown by the people at Stonewall continues to inspire and remind us of the power of resistance and solidarity. As we celebrate Pride today, we remember those who fought at Stonewall and all those who continue to fight for equality and justice for all today. Thank you for tuning in. These are the sources that I used for this presentation. Bye.